Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington. Among many titles, she's senior whip of the Democratic caucus, as well as a member of the Budget Committee. What a week. And we've been trying to pull apart and talk about all the specifics in this bill so people understand them. And I want to do that with you, too. I just wanted to start, since I just played that ad. I mean, the midterms are a very long way away. I've already acknowledged that. There's a lot to run against. But these cuts to Medicaid and health care and food stamps that are a core part of this budget bill feels like a central argument. Do you think it's set up to be a central argument for Democrats next year?
Absolutely, Jen. I mean, you know how critically important it is to lower costs for the American people. That's what Donald Trump said he was going to do on day one. That was the economic message that drove his victory, in my opinion. People believed that that was what was going to happen. Not only have his indiscriminate tariffs increased costs, but now you're going to increase costs again by cutting people out of healthcare, cutting people off of food assistance. There are so many things in this bill, those two being sort of the most immediate economic impacts that people will feel, and raising prices for everybody across a range of things, all so that you can give a $5 trillion tax break to billionaires like Elon Musk. I don't think that's a message that is politically smart. Obviously, I think it's morally bankrupt, but I also don't think it's politically smart. And I think that these Republicans are already hearing it. And I'm not sure why they would take a vote like that in the House when I think it's linked directly to losing their elections next midterm.
I think that we played a bunch of clips of a number of Republicans who voted for the bill saying they would not cut Medicaid. And I'm sure those are going to appear in ads across the country as well. There are also pieces of this bill that, and it's 1,000 pages, everybody's just dug through it over the last couple of days, that I don't think have gotten enough attention. I want to talk to you about some of them. I mean, for example, the bill hurts trans Americans by targeting gender-affirming care for all ages. That is also, of course, an attack on health care. But can you talk about the impact of that part of the legislation? Because it's incredibly devastating, and it just hasn't, because of the massive Medicaid cuts, it probably hasn't received as much attention as it warrants.
Well, and it was changed at the last minute. I mean, here's the thing. These people voted on a bill that had all these changes, many of which people didn't even read, and we still don't know the budgetary impacts or the numbers of people. But this was one of the changes. Originally, the bill had, cutting trans care, gender-affirming care in just for kids under 18. And then one of the last-minute changes that they made was to extend it to all adults not being able to be covered on Medicaid by that. I mean, it is so cruel, Jen. I mean, we're talking about a population that is tiny, 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 and Republicans have been particularly bullying trans kids. But this is an attack on health care for all people. And remember that a lot of gender-affirming care is the same care that, other people are getting. I mean, it's very, very similar, a lot of the pieces of gender-affirming care. And so it's an attack on all kinds of medical care for everybody. And certainly trans people are a big part of the attack.
This bill now goes to the Senate. That's the next step. I suspect they'll try to change some things. At least there's a lot of senators who are saying that. But one of the big parts of the bill that some Senate Republicans at least are questioning is the cuts to the green energy tax credits that by and large, I mean, they help a lot of people, but they really do help a lot of red states, which is, I suspect, why some of these Senate Republicans are speaking out about them. Talk to me a little bit about, you're so familiar with the details of this. You're in a lot of applicable committees, about the impact of those cuts, because they actually are a very large chunk of money of the cuts as well.
Well, that's right. And there's sort of two things that we should watch in the Senate. One is which cuts do they actually take back? And the green energy tax credits, this is out of the Inflation Reduction Act. Many of those tax credits went to red states. And so those are the states, those are the senators that are saying, wait a second, we've got big projects that are being funded, jobs that are being created. That money is coming directly into our state's economy. We don't want to lose that. And you're right, that is a big portion. There are also, obviously, the cuts to Medicaid are very deep and much deeper even than what it had been, because what they did is they moved up the date of when these cuts are going to apply through all the bureaucratic requirements. And so I think we're going to see, the estimate was at least 14 million or almost 14 million Americans would get kicked off of healthcare. I think it's going to be much bigger than that. But then I would also say, Jen, that there's a section of policy in this bill that nobody has really dug into that will have to go through the Senate parliamentarian, because as you know, there's not supposed to be policy in here. But my concern, and I have always said that we should have gotten rid of the filibuster when we had control, because we would have used it to pass higher minimum wage. We would have used it for getting money out of politics, for expanding the Voting Rights Act, things that are really necessary. What they are doing now is they are going to continue using it to make sure that they make those tax cuts for the billionaires permanent, and to do policy changes. If they don't listen to the parliamentarian, they have things in here like overturning the Flores Agreement, which essentially allows for kids to be detained, immigrant kids to be detained indefinitely. They have a provision in here that my state insurance commissioner was talking to me about that prohibits states from regulating AI in their own state. So there are a number of policy pieces that are in here, including around immigration more broadly, but in a number of different areas. And given what they just did with the CRA in essentially bypassing the parliamentarian, in getting, opposing California's efforts to move to electric vehicles in California, they clearly are willing to do this again. And they've already said that in terms of the tax cuts. And Jen, if I have a minute, I would just say, look at the tax cut section. It is crazy. They're trying to talk about breadcrumbs for working people. I mean, the bottom 20% of Americans will get a $90 tax cut. This was the last bill that we had, so it wasn't the final, but probably even worse than that. The top 0.1% of 0.1 of 1% of billionaires will get $398,000. There's $100 billion just for millionaires, 100 millionaires, to get tax cuts of something like $98,000 each. So I think when they say that there are going to be tax cuts for working people, ask them how much. Ask them what percentage is going to the bottom 90% and what percentage is going to the top 10%. And then you see exactly where the bill is stacked. Is just, once again, it's for Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all those billionaires out there who I guess are going to buy another luxury yacht or luxury plane, while other people are going to be cut off of $2 a day for a meal, Jen.
There are some stunning charts. We've been trying to show them. Economists out there keep producing them. We'll keep showing them. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me.